Welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I'm the host of Can We Talk? I'm an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. Today, we continue our series, Willful Women Wednesdays, to highlight and feature women in our community. We use the term willful to describe women who are intentional about their work and initiatives. Today, we invite a guest who is no stranger to this platform. Vera Chase is an historian, author, and president of the Commonwealth Writers of the Bahamas. So at this time, I will pass the virtual mic to our guest so that she can introduce herself.
Hello, everyone in Bahamas and across the world. My name is Vera Chase. First of all, I am a child of God who has inspired me to do many things, including writing. I am a published author, storyteller, and historian of the early Bahamas from 500 AD to 1833. I have 5 books I've published already. First, Take Me Back to Guanahani. The second, Pirate's Paradise. The third, A Collage of Dreams. The fourth, Poems by a Cat Island writer. And number 5, Tommy the Classroom Mouse. I am the script writer for the film series, Pompeii of Steventon. I'm also involved with students. I motivate students, try and inspire them. Meet Me in Moscow is one of my writings. I don't know if I want to tell you all that right now, but it's one of my stories. A Royal Story, which is the history of my life of the Royal Bank of Canada. The Poetess of Cat Island, History of Banking in the Bahamas, and 1010, the Bible 10, which is a story about OB in the Bahamas. I'm a world traveler. I've traveled to many countries around the world, including Finland, Canada, Antigua, Jamaica, Ireland, England, Indonesia, Egypt, Japan, Mexico, Finland, Nova Scotia, Canada, and Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, and many more. I can't name all of them without being around the world because my husband is an airline pilot.
All right, thank you for sharing a little about yourself. So you're a world traveler, and you talk. So you talk about your books and
Yes.
some of the initiatives that you've undertaken, and we're going to get into that. I just want to welcome those who are listening in. Welcome those who are viewing, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put your questions in the comments section. We'll be happy to get to your comments, but I want to thank you for joining us today. And before we begin, if you just join us, like and share this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links on our page. We need your support to continue these talks. Also, if there's something that you think we should be talking about, feel free to let us know. We want to hear from you. So with that, let's get into our talk today. And so I know you talked briefly about yourself, Ms. Chase, but can you tell us just a little bit more about your background? I know you're from Cat Island, and I know you have a lot of history as a historian. You have a lot of history about Cat Island, and
I do, and many persons are not aware that the Sidney Poitier's father and my grandfather were 2 brothers. So writing and filmmaking is actually in our family history. I work closely with the students across the Bahamas, and in particular Cat Island at the Old Bike Primary School. I sort of have my navel string is sort of tied to the Cat Island students, but I love all of my students, all of them. But I want everyone to know that my main purpose is to educate and inspire persons, not only students, about the history and culture of the Bahamas. We're not only a tourist destination, but we're a literary destination in the Bahamas. We have some of the youngest writers in the whole wide world that live in the Bahamas.
Thank you. Thank you for.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry for interrupting you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
I'm going to get back to you. Thank you, Ms. Makoff, for listening in. And Ms. Pola is saying, hi, my Cat Island gal.
Yes.
Okay, you can continue.
What I've also done, Deidre, is I've made it a point to research Bahamian last names. I told you about your last name. And I've researched many of the last names in the Bahamas and those that person that lived in the Bahamas, outside of the Bahamas, as long as you're connected to the Bahamas and you have a last name that's familiar to me, I can tell you the origin.
Yes, I know you've done a lot of research as it pertains to last names, and you can, talk about some of where those, the origins, and you
Yes,
talk about the loyalists who were buried, you talk about those connections, to those last names. So,
that's right.
as a historian, I'm so grateful for you,
That
to
is
be
true.
able to trace, to be able to trace those last names. So for those listening in, like Maycock and Pollard, Kid, do you have any insight on those last names?
Well, I found that the Maycock last name could be on several islands, but I found them, most of them down in Ragged Island.
Okay,
But
thank you so much.
they are on several islands, including New Providence. Uh, but last names, persons did not move about with those last names until after emancipation. Before emancipation, they were on one particular island, but after emancipation, 1838, persons were able to move from place to place.
I have some persons asking about the origin of Smith and the origin of Larimore.
The Smith last name, I found out that could be spelled anyway in the beginning. So James Carmichael Smith, when he came to the Bahamas in 1824, I think, he spelled his name Smyth. That's the origin of it. It's an English last name. But over the years, according to writing certificates and birth certificates and stuff like that, persons who wrote those information spelled it the way they feel like spelling it, the way it sounds, which is Smith. But the original last name is Smyth. And I found that that could be on any island, but I found it primarily on Exuma, I think, Exuma. But every island have a Smith last name, Smith. But I just want the Smith last names, persons who are listening, that the origin of their name is Smyth out of England.
So they're spelling it wrong with the I.
Well, over the years, when persons writing certificates and birth certificates and whatever, they drop the Y and just put Smyth the way it sounded. But it's actually Smyth.
Mm. And so someone is asking about Larimore and Ferguson, the origins of Larimore and
Well,
Ferguson.
to be honest with you, I found the Ferguson's last name in Exuma. There's a set of tombs in Exuma called the Ferguson tombs. And I think they are somewhere near I forget, Morstown, I think in that area, in Morstown area. Ferguson is in that area. And I found Larimore, well, the Larimores that I knew of lived on Cat Island.
Wow, so Ferguson can trace some roots to Exuma, and
Yeah,
Larimore can
I found
trace
Larimore in Cat Island, yes.
in Cat Island.
Cat Island, yes.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to get back to those comments, but I want to ask you about your role. You are the president of the Commonwealth Writers of the Bahamas. So can you tell us a little bit about your role? What do you do? I know you talk about the youngsters who are, we have some great writers, but can you tell us about your role as the president of the Commonwealth
President of the
Writers?
Commonwealth Writers for the Bahamas, and I have a good team of women and men who supports me. It's the Commonwealth Writers of the Bahamas. It's not really only me, persons that work along with me, but I make the suggestions to them and they check it, and if they like it, then we'll run with it. We've done many things. We went to the Miami International Book Fair. We did the Jungle Writers Festival. We did the evening in Barcelona, Spain, which is a night where we honored our Spanish connections to the Bahamas. A lot of persons don't know we have a Spanish connections to the Bahamas. Then we have the writing awards, the writing competition. We have the the writing awards where students come in from the Family Islands to New Providence for the writing awards. And in the past, before COVID, the students would come in on a Friday night and the writing awards would be on a Saturday. It's a red carpet event for students and they'll read their work in front of a large audience. We've done this at the Nassau Yacht Club in the beginning. We've done it at Government House and about 4 times at Government House and at the Malia Hotel on West Bay Street, about 3 or 4 times. The last was just before COVID was announced. That was March 20th, 2020. We had March 13, 2020. We had the last writing awards at the Hotel Malia on Cable Beach.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And so tell us a little bit about your projects and initiatives. I know, you're working on different things, you've written different books, but if you can, share a little bit about the projects that you're working on.
Events only stopped briefly for COVID-19. So we've been on a hold, not actually a hold, we've been working for the last 2 years in silence, actually. So now we're starting up again. Meeting places now at the Elizabeth Estates Library. We celebrated Poetry Month of April just recently, where we honored poetry, and we had some special events. We had a special meeting on the 9th, and we had a historical bus tour on the 23rd, where we went around New Providence so persons can know the historical spots in New Providence. A lot of persons are not aware that Mr. Stephen Delette's house, the first Haitian member of Parliament. His house is on Market Street. It's called Balcony House now, near the Central Bank of the Bahamas. So we visited his house, and we went around some other historical places on the bus.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I know you talk about Pompeii. I don't know if you want to share, because I know that's a part of your passion as well.
Pompeii is in my blood. My grandfather on my mother's side was born in the Hermitage Mosque down in Exuma. So we sort of connected in spirit. Pompeii, a lot of persons not aware that Pompeii was only 33 years old. He was a young man when he started working he worked with slaves in Exuma before. And he had 5 plantations. He actually took over these plantations. Even though they had an overseer, Pompeii was in charge of the plantations. If Pompeii told the slaves and slaves not to go, they will not go. If he told them to come, they'll come. They will not do anything unless Pompeii told them to do it. So he visited, the plantations were 5, I think, Rollville, Steventon, Ramsey, Mount Thompson, and Roll Town. They were the plantations that he put himself over. He made himself the leader of those slaves on those plantations. And he visited them every week. He would run along the beach. I think it was 26 miles he ran from Rollville down to Roll Town once a week along the beach, just to visit them and inspire them and talk with them. Actually, he was the greatest Bahamian in my view of the 19th century.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And in your role, as the president of the Commonwealth Writers of the Bahamas, and in general, Ms. Chase, as an historian, do you find that you have any challenges in your role that you want to share?
Yeah, we had a lot of challenges. After Hurricane Dorian, we lost our sponsors. I think all the sponsors must have gone down to helping, which was okay with us, but ever since that, and then COVID-19 came, so we weren't able to do any fundraising. So we had no way of getting any money to do anything that we needed to do. And we needed to get gifts and prizes and computers and whatever for our family islands. We like to help the family island students, but we didn't have any money to do anything like that. Just, since for 2 years now, since COVID started, it's been rough for us. We want to get our film, which is a 6-series film, and I think the whole world will love it. It's on the life of Pompeii and what happened in the Bahamas in 1829. We're going back into 1829 to what happened when Sir James Carmichael Smith came in, and persons did not know that Sir James Carmichael Smith was actually abolitionist. He had abolitionist tendencies, which means that he did everything for the slaves, everything. He worshiped with him at the churches now, St. Ambrose Church on Carmichael Road. He used the white folks in the colony said that this governor worshiped with slaves, and that's exactly what he did. He worshiped with them he was an Anglican. So we really need the world to know a lot more about what happened in the Bahamas in 1829, when a young boy sort of the young boy who started the British government, they started to speed up emancipation because the slaves in Exuma were so rambunctious. That's the word. They were so out of it and didn't care that the British government. I read recently, the British government sped up emancipation because of what was happening in Exuma. They couldn't control them. They called them uncontrollable.
Wow, yeah, just adjust it. Yeah. Thank you so much. And so, that's very important. I want to thank you for sharing that as well. And for us to really understand our history, for those who, just see or view the Bahamas as sun, sand, and sea, it's
Right.
really important to know that, there's more to us. It's history,
And the
that.
thing about this is, Deidre, that persons in the Commonwealth countries, there are about 52 Commonwealth countries, and especially Caribbean, they don't realize that if Pompey didn't start his action in Exuma, they might still all be slaves.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And so I'm gonna jump back to our comments, see if there are any new comments in. But I wanna also talk about your books. You talk about you wrote a book about just different things in the Bahamas. You talk about Oba in the Bahamas and different books that you wrote. You want to talk about those a little bit
Well,
more?
my first book is called Take Me Back to Guanahani. And when it was published, I think 1997, 1998, the Ministry of Education purchased 200 or 300 books and sent them across the islands of the Bahamas. So it's a book on short stories about the islands, about people, the food, and everything like that. So they purchased about 200 or 300. And so therefore, when I spoke to the students in Long Key several years ago, and I asked them, they said they know me. I said, when I called them, so they said, we know you down in Long Key. And Long Key is way down the southern islands. And I asked them, how did you know me? So they said, well, we have your book down here, which means that every school or primary school in the islands got a book. That's the first book called Take Me Back to Guanahani. And the second book is Pirate's Paradise. It starts off with Blackbeard the Pirate, a story about him, how he used to live in the islands of the Bahamas. He was in control here at one point. That's the first story. And then it goes on some other trips I made to Egypt and Indonesia and stuff like that. And it's a mixture of poetry and short stories in the second book. That's Take Me Back. That's our Pirate's Paradise. And then I did the Collage of Dreams. The Collage of Dreams is the writings of children across the Bahamas. It's every island that participated in a competition of 2013, I think. Every first place winner is in that book called A Collage of Dreams. And then the other one is called Poems by a Cat Island Writer. That's actually poems that's indigenous to the Bahamas, about life across the Bahamas, and similar to the first one. And then the last one is called Tommy the Classroom Mouse, that addresses bullying for children in primary school. It's a story of a mouse who actually thought he was a student. He used to attend classes until one of the students in the class saw him in the class, and she said out loud, "I see a nasty rat in here," and he didn't even know he was a rat until she told him. And then he started to weep, and it goes on to weeping, but how you should not bullying, and it addresses bullying in a big way.
So you tackle a lot of issues. You talk about not only the historical context of our country, but you also tackle different issues as well. You've written about different a variety of topics.
Yes, a variety of topics. And which one the books?
Thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about your future endeavors. I know you stay busy. So
Well, for the future, I'd like to just take a few weeks off to visit the family islands. I need to go back to Governor's Harbor. I promised them I was coming to do a talk at the library, in Governor Haynes Library in Governor's Harbor. I live between Nassau and Governor's Harbor, so I really wish I could get to go home. And secondly, I'd like to have published a book. It's a novella. It's called The Unknown History of the Bahamas. It would talk about things like the Arawak Indians and where they came from and how they got here and what plants they brought with them. And I heard another talk show today that avocado was a Bahamian fruit. Avocado is not a Bahamian fruit. Guava is one of Bahamian fruits, and canaps and things like that, and mami and things like that. They are actually juju. They Bahamian fruits. Tomato is not a Bahamian fruit either. That came out. I think the Spanish conquistadors brought that out of Mexico as well, and also the avocado.
What's that? What is that? Sorry, I missed that.
A tomato is not a Bahamian fruit.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay,
And
so it
avocado
was
is not a
brought to the
Bahamian.
Bahamas.
Avocado is not a Bahamian fruit either, but I don't want to get off course. Mexico, avocado, Mexico.
They were brought to the Bahamas by the Spanish.
When the Arawak Indians came, they brought their own fruits with them, which is guava. Guava is an Arawak Indian name. Guava, like Meguana and Inagua, the Arawak Indian names.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So they brought their own fruits and the origins of those names.
They brought their own fruits when they came. They brought their fruits, and their canoes could hold at least 50 people when they came. They brought everybody and all the fruits and everything. I researched that when it was done in Antigua. I have a book on everything connection with the Arawak Indians.
So all the yucca and the yam.
Yeah, the yucca, that's another Arawak Indian name. Where you getting smart?
Wow.
Yucca is an Arawak Indian name. Like names like UAU, like AU, like that. The Arawak Indian.
So all those juicy fruits, they do not. Well, the origins stem from the Arawak Indians.
Yes, they did. They brought their fruits with them when they came. Yeah.
So as we wind down, Ms. Chase, is there any additional comments that you would like to add, you would like to share?
I'd like to add that we really do need some help with funding. With funding for the film, I think the first episode will cost us $50,000 just to get everything all done professionally. We'd like to get it on Netflix. We want to be so professional that other stations would really want to view it. So therefore, we be doing it one episode at a time because it's cheaper to do one episode than to do all one time. So we do one episode at a time, get that edited and published or whatever. Then we go on, make some money, and go on to the second episode, which it would be a church service in Exuma. The slaves came together, the enslaved persons come together to pray in a church in Exuma before they go into the bushes to prepare for their trip to Nassau. You know, they came into Nassau, 77 persons came into Nassau on a boat to meet Sir James Carmichael Smith to tell them about their problems in Exuma, and they brought all their children with them. All. When they came in, they were family oriented, so when they came in to meet the governor, Pompey was driving the boat and he brought 77 persons with him, including all the children. So he wanted the world to know about this man. We need the funds for the film. That's a challenge for us.
So you want to highlight, the history, and so you need help. You need funding.
Yes, we do need funding. Anyone interested in can actually send an email to commonwealthwriters@yahoo.com, commonwealthwriters@yahoo.com, and we respond to every one of the inquiries.
Thank you, Ms. Chase. Is there anything else you would like to share? Anything else you would like to add?
I'd like to add that the writing competition, which started in February, is now ended. You know, we do a writing competition every year. It started February 1st and ended April 15th. So now the judging will start, and then the writing awards will be maybe first week in June or along that line. We just want everyone to know that every student, and we've gotten the entries from the students as well. There are students from Lotta's primary school in Nassau. Also let everyone know that 4 students at Palmdale Primary School entered the Queen Elizabeth Essay Competition in the UK, writing against 52 other countries, and they were among the winners, representing the Bahamas. So my work is to continue with the children and the adults. I'm not leaving the adults out either, but just as because the funding was not as much as we thought it would be, we had to do it in stages, which means the children would be now and the adults writing would be later. But say a prayer for us that things work out, that things get better, and it will get better, and we could continue doing working, sharing our Bahamian history and culture with the whole world.
I wanna applaud you for that, for your passion in, wanting to share Bahamian culture and share Bahamian history. And I know that you're very active on certain platforms and you share Bahamian culture. And so I want to thank you for that. And I think that it's very important for us to really understand and know where we come from. It's important. You'll never know where you're going unless you understand where you came from. So I want to thank you for being active, in sharing and talking about our history.
Thank you, Deidre. I am very passionate about my country. I am very passionate about the students and the adults and the writers, making sure the persons get themselves published, making sure our history is documented, because the future, we will have no future if we don't know the past. So we have to document everything that we do, so the persons that come after me, especially after me, will know how it's supposed to be done, how it was done then in my time.
Yeah, it's definitely important to preserve those things because you're such a gem because you can trace the origins just by the last name.
I do know the last names. I do know that the Arawak Indians came out of South America and some other countries in the Caribbean, but they came out of South America, primarily out of South America, seeking a better life. I know them.
The Arawak Indians?
The Arawak, they were 2 sets of Indians that came together. It was the Arawak and the Lucayans, and they were branches. They were branches of the Tanos. They were not just one group. They like cousins, like your mother had two a sister and a brother.
Mm-hmm.
For the Arawak Indians and the Lucayans, they were branches of the Tanos. And I'm on Facebook, a lady by the name of Takina Eru Maynard. She's one of the officers of the ones, the Arawak Indians and Tanos that are around. They're around right now, they're around today. And the chief Tano lives in Puerto Rico.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
If you ever on Facebook, find Takina Eru Maynard. Takina, Tekina, Eiru Maynard. She's Tano on Facebook.
Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Chase. And thank you for highlighting that information again. And I just want to reiterate how important it is for persons like you who share this information so freely. And it's so important to preserve our history.
Yes, thank you so much, Deidre. I do. My last project is the lighthouses. I'm documenting all the lighthouses across the Bahamas. The oldest lighthouse is on Hog Island, the lighthouse that you can see from Awaki. That's 1816.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Chase. And that's why, it's so important for us to highlight your work and what you're doing again, because we see value in preserving our history. So I want to thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much, Deidre.
You know, you are our friend, and you are, you know, always invited to talk, because, you know, we talk about our history, we talk about emancipation, we talk about civil rights movement and the connection in with the Bahamas and Bahamians. And so I just want to thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you so much for being here, Deidre. I appreciate it.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you too. So if there's no additional comments.
What I'd like everyone to really know is to just remember the children in the family islands. I worry about them so much, especially the ones in the southern islands. They're so far away from the province. And sometimes I just think about them all the time.
Thank you. So with that, we've come to the end of our session. I want to thank our viewers for listening in. I would like to thank our guest, Vera Chase, Vera Poitier, Chase, right? I would like to thank our viewers for listening in. Like our page for future notifications of upcoming talks. Comment under this video. Let us know your thoughts and let us know what you want us to talk about. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Can We Talk? Follow us on Instagram and Twitter using the addresses provided on our page. And remember, let's think, talk, do. Thank you.